Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody out there in the On the Chain community? I'll tell you what is awesome. Every YouTuber in this entire space today talked about bad news, breaking news, Judge Torres ruling, bad news for all XRP investors, including some of those who came in that have never watched our show, came in, clickbait title. And there you go, Chip. But I want to give a quick shout out to Chip. He did an amazing podcast or a Twitter thing yesterday with John Deaton, attorney Deaton. Was outstanding. Great job on that. Chip, we got a lot to cover. You want to kick this thing off?
We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. So let's kick this puppy off. Guys, you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
All right. Check out how cool that is.
Yeah, Aaron's playing co-host.
We got co-host as the co-pilot co-host.
And the co-host. Yeah, it's perfect. We got a co-pilot and co-host. So
there we go. So put me into the green room.
And I'll put you in the green room shortly, and you're
on the way to the studio.
Yeah, you can hang and listen, but I'll put you in here. Let's go. There we go. Holy cow, that's weird. It's even really weirder. There we go. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. Thank you for what is going on with my internet connection, man. I don't know. All of a sudden, Jeff goes and everything went crazy on me. I don't know. My computer just froze up and died. Anyway, we might just have to do this without. I just don't know what happened. This is the craziest thing, but what are you going to do? It's live, and live, anything will happen. The computer will work all day as soon as I go live, and then it doesn't work. So I don't know. I'm going to turn here we go. It seems to have resolved. I don't know, whatever that was with StreamYard. Seems to be a little bit behind it. But anyway, guys, so yesterday did a Twitter Spaces with John Deaton, which was awesome. Did it for about an hour and a half. You guys can go to my Twitter handle, and you can see all that there. There's probably it was a little bit rough. It was kind of like this. So it didn't really work all that well in the beginning. I couldn't hear John. John couldn't hear me. We had XRPP as a co-host as well, and that was kind of awkward as well. But eventually it smoothed out, and I'll just give you more or less what happened with that was kind of, John Deaton's things. And we'll jump into it a little bit more when Jeff gets back on here. I'm really dismayed by why my computer is all shifty like this. Very Okay, I had to hit the sneeze button, but guess what? I'm telling you guys, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and that's where we're at right now. But did a thing, and so a lot of people were really dismayed. John Deaton said he was disappointed overall. What he said, hey, look, I'm a little disappointed because the judge really, and we're talking about the library ruling that kind of came down yesterday, and whether about the secondary sales, even though John Deaton went in there and actually participated in that. Ultimately, the judge, he said, was, a minimalist and probably didn't want to go there, didn't want to rule there. And so obviously the judge did not. And so consequently, it didn't quite get the ruling that was expected. So there was no ruling on the secondary type of sales there. So it was kind of an awkward kind of a play there. But ultimately, what he said, because a lot of people brought up, well, what does this mean about the Ripple case? What does this mean about, will it have any impact on the Ripple case? John said, not really. And he said, imagine that Judge Torres is
Gensler, in advance of today's hearing, did you coordinate acceptable responses with Senator Elizabeth Warren?
No, I'm speaking on my own behalf.
Did you coordinate with Democratic staff? And I ask because it happened before, and I want to be clear whether you operate of your own accord or whether there's some sort of coordinated approach to the damage that you're inflicting on America's capital markets.
Guys, everything is it's gone off the rails. What am I going to tell you? I'm trying to click a button. I'm trying to talk. Jeff's behind there laughing. My computer's not working. What are you going to do? I'm completely messed up. I think this might be it, Jeff. I think we're done for today. That might just be where we're going to go. So I don't know if I can get through it. Hopefully you can get in there so I can bail and come back and fix everything. But I don't know what happened anyway. There's so much cool stuff to talk about. John Deaton said, "Don't worry about it. HODL strong. It's probably not going to have anything to do with the library case. He doesn't collapse the two. He thinks that they are sort of separate. And the fact that the judge didn't rule, he doesn't see this impacting the case at all. So really good space. You guys want to listen to it. Everything seemed to be some really good questions. A lot of people from the community came in and had questions. I want to say like maybe 10 or 15 people were there, which was pretty awesome. So overall, it was a pretty good space. How was everybody doing tonight? Drop where you're from. Drop where you guys are from. I want to see that in the comments and stuff. Clickbait karma, yeah. So we're making fun of it. You guys got to pay attention a little bit. You got to pay attention because we make fun of people, the YouTubers out there with the clickbait titles that are consistently putting garbage out there. Seems to work for them because they get 20,000, 30,000. We put it up. You guys expect a little more from us, but we're joking. That's the inside joke. Of course, we're not. That's not how we really feel about it. And I apparently been frozen. I don't know what's going on tonight. Jeff, you bailed out of here and it turned into just chaos. I was fine. And then everything started going. We got Texas in the house here. I'm not running a PC. No, I would never get a PC. The last thing I would ever do. But I don't know. Sometimes this happens. It's the streaming software that we run into trouble with. It's not my computer because I do pretty heavy stuff with my computer. But for some reason, this is browser based, and every once in a while, it has its issues. And everything was going fine. Jeff left. You saw the stutter on the screen, and then it went crazy. But I can't bail out of here because otherwise I'll lose Jeff, and then we'll lose the entire stream. We'll be done. But I did want to get into, and then my dog on top is crawling along with me. What a night, man. What a night. I think we're just going to delete this video. We're done. So let's jump into it. We got Boston, Mass in the house. Great White North in here. We got Crypto G coming in from Atlanta. Beautiful. And what else do we have here? It's all Jeff's fault. Of course it's Jeff's fault. Who else is it? Who else's fault would it be? Aaron's? No, Aaron, it's not his fault. Not at all. Not at all. So let's try to get through this. So there was a bunch of different things that dropped today. We're going to get through it. And let me go ahead and see if I can present my screen. Let's see if this works. Let's see if anything works around here. Let me see. I don't have high hopes for this. Let me see if this works. All I have to say is, Jeff, you better get home pretty soon. Okay, there we go. Hopefully this will work. So Ripple today tweeted us out today. They put out a tweet thread over there. They said more than 90% of the global finance leaders think blockchain and digital assets will significantly impact business, finance, and society in the next 3 years. It's nothing really new. Let's break down more crypto trends from our 2023 new value report. And so this new value report is something that's out. And of course, they want you to put your information in there. You can go ahead and download it, which we'll take a look at that in a little bit as well. In the second part of this thread, 72% of finance decision makers expect to explore tokenization to drive innovation, and the business opportunity of tokenized assets is expected to reach 16 trillion by 2030. We've all been promised this tokenization. We've been hearing about tokenization. Everything's going to be tokenized. Everything, real estate. I mean, any object is going to be tokenized, and it's what we hear an awful lot about. And these projections. Again, it's when you say 72% of finance decision makers, those are the people at these financial institutions, which are, maybe it's a poll, maybe they're talking about the tokenization. I think we all know we're going there, but I just wonder what the adoption rate is going to look like. Is that going to be something that's going to be faster? Is it going to be something that, is going to be happen overnight? Probably not. So 16 trillion by 2030 could happen. I mean, we're talking about the next 7.5 years. We could get there in time. It's quite possible, but we'll see. And then 58% of the global payments leaders see faster payments as the #1 value prop for incorporating crypto into their cross-border payments. which is pretty good. I actually would have expected that to be higher. 58%, that's just a little over 50%. And you know, if you're in global payment space and you want faster payments, I mean, what other methodology are you going to rely on, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, Ripple is the only one that does cross-border payments. There's other solutions out there, but if you think about it from the standpoint of who is actually leading in the space as far as faster, yeah, I mean, you can do all kinds of payments right now. That number, I would have expected that number to be more like 70, 75% of global payment leaders, especially since most of them are probably blockchain based to some degree. So that's that one was a little bit of a surprise. And then they push us over to their 2023 value report, which you're not going to get a chance to look at because it's behind you got to download it and put all your data points in there. And it's just kind of more of the same what we just read in that tweet thread. And you get to just download the report, and there's the report right there. You can see it. Look at that. We could read that potentially. Tokens or digital assets are digital representations of value on the blockchain. It's looks like a very rudimentary sort of a okay. Well, I guess I can't do anything with this either. So I thought I could advance it. There it goes. Let's look at this here. Payment use cases, finance leaders, and which kind of what's really surprising here is accepting payments in the form of crypto. These finance leaders expect CBDCs. Looks like 69%. Yeah, 69%. That's pretty heavy. I would thought less people would think that it was a lot less than that than actually 60%. But you look at this, CBDCs is leading almost everything when it comes to payroll and distribution, paying employees in crypto. Again, CBDCs leading the way. It's a little bit slanted. I mean, we know that we know that Ripple has its own when they're leading the way when it comes to CBDCs. But again, this is shocking to me. Accepting payment in the form of crypto, is that going to be done with cryptocurrency, stable coins, or again, 70%, the big bar right here, you see that's leading with CBDCs. How about making domestic payments in the form of crypto, CBDCs, right? I don't know. I don't know which leaders they're actually speaking with, but it sort of seems like, are they crypto leaders that work for central banks? Because I would expect the central banks to say CBDCs, absolutely, but this doesn't make any sense. And if we look over to this right column here, making cross-border payments in crypto, CBDCs leads by 70%, then 56% with cryptocurrency, and then stable coins. The one thing about stable coins is, like, if you're going to pay somebody on a regular basis, you would probably expect that there would be, I would say, a better shot than something that's very volatile, right? We know that at any given day, the crypto markets can dump. We see it all the time. So if you pay somebody and they got paid in the morning, by the time, you know, the afternoon rolls around, they have less money. I would think stable coins, I get CBDCs, but still kind of shocking that stable coins is so low and CBDCs are so high. Here's another one, enabling customers to make crypto payments. CBDCs just by a hair on this one here. 66% versus 61% versus 52% stable coins. And then enabling customers to accept crypto payments. Again, it's CBDCs leading the way. Weird. It's a weird sort of a study there. I'm shocked. So yeah, there it is. There's their crypto trends in business and beyond. And again, the idea is you can put all your information here, and then they can contact you or whatever. So I'm not going to download this report, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And hopefully Jeff will be bouncing in here soon. Whatever he did when he left, he messed up this online software. Good day, George. What's going on? How are you? Michael from Brisbane. Did I say that right? Brisbane, I think it's so, right? Jim D says this. He said, learn something new today. What's going on, man?
What is going on?
Okay, you got to come back in. Your mic's messed up.
Oh, come on, seriously.
This is what it's been like.
StreamYard.
I'm all over the. I can't even focus on myself. Everything's off. So Jim D said, learn something new today. Jim Rickards let out Biden administration quietly doling out lots of federal gas/oil leases to prep for fossil fuel energy options to try to keep OPEC leverage. That is a shock. I did not hear that, Jim D, but I would say that is somewhat of a surprise. But Jim Rickards, he's saying, when he says quietly, what does that mean? Because I know we banned almost all oil production domestically, so that'll be interesting to see how that looks like. What else do we have? Legendary says Torres was recommending by Christine Gillibrand that we know Gillibrand's working with Pocahontas. We know Pocahontas is working with, guess who? Gary. Wait, Torres was recommended by Christine Gillibrand. Okay, because I know she was appointed during the Obama administration, right, Jeff?
Well, you've got what's her name? Lummis and Gillibrand working on some crypto legislation. So a lot of things on that side. But it's interesting is that so here's the crazy part, right? If you're watching the crypto legislative landscape on a global scale, there are all these things that are happening internationally right now that are popping up, things regarding CBDCs that are rolling out in Brazil and Russia and China and all over the world. Then you're starting to see some regulatory clarity in Singapore, more clarity, UK, all over the world. And all of a sudden, all this delay, all of a sudden you're starting to see little bits of discussion on regulation here in the US. Little tiny bits. And that's this legislation with Lummis and Gillibrand. So you start to ponder. I was looking at an old hype from McCarthy back in April, and he was saying there'd be legislation introduced by the Financial Services Committee within 2 months, which was the end of June. So the question is, where were we going, right? Where is this whole trend moving at this point? And are we going to start seeing some normalcy in the US market, or is it just, are they waiting to see what's happening globally, and then we're going to be the last comers?
That's a good question, Jeff. I mean, it seems to me that they were talking about, again, we have an update on that. They're looking at maybe rolling out some legislation, but nobody expects anything to happen. This is what John Deaton talked about last night. It was asked specifically about, like, what do you think is going to happen? He doesn't think anything's going to happen before the 2024 election. So that's great, because that's a year and a half away. So a year and a half away, when you go into an election year, very little gets done because people don't want to go on the record of passing legislation. It's too close to the voting cycle. And all of a sudden they don't want to, they want to be very careful about that. Jeff, I wanted you to look at this thing. Tell me what this is exactly. I'm just trying to figure out what this thing is. Look at this thing here on screen.
What is it? Oh, looks like, I've seen this before. It's a battle axe.
Yeah, our Yetis. Our Yetis. It looks like something our badass Yetis would hold and carry, right?
It's kick-ass.
Right? It's cool looking. I don't know what it is.
It's a statue. It's an axe. It's a person.
Right?
It's like it's definitely a weapon. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, which is pretty cool.
Well, here it is. It's working. This is Anthony Welfare put this out. He said, working in the Ripple in New York City office this week. Very pleased to see our first ever CBDC award, awarded by the Currency Research at the 2023 Digital Currency Conference for our, get this, Jeff, Advancement in Digital Currency, Best Sustainability Initiative. Ripple, a long history from inception of sustainability projects, and we're making sure that CBDC team continues to develop long-term sustainable solutions for our customers and partners. You know what I want to make sure, Jeff? I want to make sure that the CBDCs don't have programmability, so you can just turn it off. That you can just, chop somebody's, turn somebody off like a spigot, just turn the valve off. They talk about all this other stuff, but they talk about the programmability and what's going to be available to these central banks, because I'm sure we all trust the government. Everyone trusts the government, right? I'm sure they wouldn't do anything weird or bad. I mean,
not anywhere, not even in Brazil.
No, they wouldn't do it. I mean, they have the people's best interest at heart, Jeff, and there's nothing they would do. But I am really concerned about this programmability, and they like sustainability. Sustainability means zero. Jack squat is what sustainability means. You know what means something to me? This programmability, like, do they ever talk about it? Have you ever heard it mentioned? because everyone's big concern is like, well, you know, you could program it to like you spend it or it won't exist in 60 days. You know, these, I mean, even like silly things. You can only use, let's see, well, I'm sorry, you've been putting on a couple extra pounds, no more donuts for you. You can say like, well, your health doesn't benefit the overall society if we're all going to win together. We have to make sure that there's an approved route that you can go and drive to and you didn't do the approved route because we track your every movement with your mobile phone, and well, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to dock you and fine you. So we'll take some of that CBDC money out. Jeff, is it? So, am I being crazy here, or is there something there to it?
No, I think you're spot on here, and we'll start really looking at some of this. But X Factor was saying, do you guys really think all these countries are developing CBDCs? This is all the digital you want with your country logo and small changes. I'd have to say we've got BRICS. And it just seems that a lot of the countries that are involved in BRICS are also rolling out their digital currency. So you really got to think through, what exactly is the impetus there? Why are they all rolling it out? We want to talk about someone said, what's the bad news? What did I miss? What's the bad news? There's a lot of hype on Twitter and YouTube. And so we just wanted to, highlight that, goof on a little bit, came right out of the gate in the beginning of the video with that. But the bad news is the fact that there's, I want to say that there's a confusion out there from a global perspective of what crypto is, what digital currencies are, and what these CBDCs are, especially as we start getting into places like Brazil. Here's banks to hold a significant role in the Brazilian digital currency. Why? Because they're getting close. Look, they want to launch a digital currency at the end of 2024. Many central banks around the world are studying the potential. 2024, that towards the end of 2024. This article is from, it's from last month, but they're test marketing this all over the place. And then here's Visa builds programmable finance pilot for Brazilian farmers using CBDCs. Say, why Brazil? What does that have to do with BRICS? Why is Visa dipping their toe in this programmable money? Here you go. Pilot prototyping of Brazil's blockchain-based central bank digital currency. I would say it's probably not blockchain based. Maybe it's a blockchain type, kind of like blockchain light. Yeah. Here's Brazil and Visa test digital currency for financing farmers. And then here's another one here. Lots of ads popping up. Learning by doing is critical to digital dollar development, Visa execs say. Visa is intertwined into this whole conversation somehow. And you really have to start considering these guys are giants in the financial space. Why the big slowdown in crypto? Where was Visa and MasterCard and all the big players? Where was PayPal? Where were all these guys in the background? They're just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And now when it comes back to centralized financial infrastructure, these guys are all in. And they were dabbling a little bit. Hey, blockchain, crypto, we're friendly. And now they're talking about, like this one here, this article from May, learning by doing is critical to digital dollar development. While
what does it even mean? What does it even mean as a headline? That's like the weirdest, most awkward headline I've ever seen. Like, does that make me want to read it? Learning is critical. Yeah, that's great. Next, flip. I mean, like, I just roll right past this.
Let's just go right past it. This is just the tip of the iceberg for central bank digital currencies, blah, blah, blah. Talking about Visa, told Blockworks, as countries across the world study the sector, the payments giant partnered with Microsoft, as well as tokenized platforms, AgroToken, and software company Sinqia to explore a use case for Brazil's digital real. So here they go.
Look, your little crisp pop-up is right there.
What?
It was on the screen there, the little crisp bubble pop-up.
Yeah, it's constantly popping up, and I try to
bottom
get rid
left
of it.
Corner.
Yeah, it always comes back.
You can close it.
I close it and then it comes back.
Does it? Okay, well that happens sometimes. I mean, but I saw a really good thread. Listen, you've been hearing it from us, right? Everybody's like, oh, the BRICS nation, and they're doing this. Listen. Brazil is run by a nutjob maniac, right? The guy was spent like 3 or 4 years in prison. Like, he was put away at prison. They like jailbroke him, and then all of a sudden he's the president, and they were protesting down there. Nothing to see there. Everything seems on the up and up. The other guy who was president won by landslide everywhere else except for one place. My God, that sounds so weird and familiar, but I can't place where that might be. Next thing you know, Jeff, it's like they're rolling out, like everybody, if you had a bet before the CBDC rolled out in the First Nation, I think everybody would have bet on China, right? So now you got Brazil that can't wait to get this out. Just cannot wait to get this into the system. This was an excellent post right here by James Lavish, and about the BRICS, the CBDCs. But I saw this and it was great. He's a reformed hedge fund manager, XGL hockey, and CFA, author of the Informationist newsletter, Simplifying Macro and Finance for Everyone. So he's got a background in this, especially being it's funny, he says reformed hedge fund manager, as if it wasn't a good thing. But then he goes on to say that in what appears to be a direct attack on US dollar, BRICS recently announced a plan to introduce a gold-backed currency for the nation bloc. Does this really mean the end of the near for the USD as a global reserve currency? Time for a currency thread. Then he gets into holy cow, what is going on, man? Everything's so what is BRICS? BRICS, an acronym for the bloc of countries looking to form economic cooperative and non-Western bloc. These countries are currently Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That spells BRICS. But they're seeking a way out of transacting in US dollars. Well, why is that? Well, first of all, using USD as the primary medium of exchange, many countries feed the economic engine of the U.S. at the expense of their own growth. And then because of the need for USDs, dollars, these countries must buy and hold U.S. dollars and U.S. treasuries as reserve assets, a negative to them for two reasons. One, control. When the U.S. sanctioned Russia last year, freezing their U.S. treasury holdings and shutting them out of SWIFT, the worldwide money transfer system, the U.S. demonstrated an authoritarian control over any USD-denominated asset held in foreign treasuries. Now, Jeff, the funny thing about Ripple being a U.S. company is the government asked them to block somebody, and they'll comply. You aware of this?
Very.
Yeah. So, I mean, thing is like, to me, is like to have a government shut down some other government because for whatever reason, in the name of democracy, Jeff, it's all of them. That's, by the way, that's why we're supporting that other country with the Russia thing, because it's democracy. When the leader over there just announced no elections next year, we're in the middle of like a conflict. So democracy's been closed out over there. So
what democracy? Steve Willits, the aqueducts.
Okay, aqueducts. That's an interesting topic.
Yep. Roads.
We could go down that way. Number two, the second part is value. The U.S. Treasury repeatedly prints the United States dollars to its own debt during times of crisis, expanding the money supply, basically destroying the value of the dollars that these countries have to purchase, right? So anyone holding USDs or USDs loses purchasing power. And so solid reasons to opt out of the USD. Actually, I covered this and much more in a recent informationalist newsletter, but you've not seen it. You can dig in further. And you can find a link in my newsletter in my bio. So what's more, 8 other countries have already formally applied to BRICS membership, Argentina.
It's about 100, I think 130 countries have already applied.
They always misrepresent this. Like, I'm always hearing it's a lot more too. Plus dozens of others expressed interest, Belarus, Mexico.
Take a look at the countries that are involved, that are
nothing to see there, Jeff.
It's kind of like a who's who.
Yeah, look at this, right? Okay.
From a political perspective, you'd have to say that things are slanted a little bit.
Yeah, look at that right there, right? Because don't worry about that. These countries, I'm sure they're going to agree easily. They're going to figure this out and easily just agree on what comes next.
Well, that and they all get along infamously.
Yeah, so
it's perfect.
The reminder that Turkey and Mexico are both G20 countries, which means they're some of the largest and systematically important economies in the world. So that's 5 G20 members already in BRICS, which potentially 5 more, Argentina, Indonesia, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. And there you have it. So these countries account for 85% of the total of the global GDP. Something that John Deaton brought up yesterday, which I thought was really key, because people were asking, like, why do we care about America? What? Because most of the capital formation, I think he said over 60% of capital formation on the entire world is the United States. So it's one of the stats.
It's a true statement.
Look at that, Jeff. All of this right here. 2/3, not Canada. I don't think we ever live 30,000 people, 30 million people live there.
Wait,
two-thirds of the population are from these countries. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to really sum them up, I guess, but there you go. He said that's half of the G20 membership. So let that sink in for a moment while we turn our attention to the Western portion of the G20, the UK, the EU, in particular the US, state of the Western fiat union, you could say. So US is off the gold standard. You've all watched these last few years as the central banks of the UK, the EU, the US all printed ungodly amounts of the respective currencies to ensure stable and liquid financial markets, i.e. government bond markets, which one of them actually ended up collapsing SBB Bank when the rates increased and those bonds dipped and they had a bank run, and there it is, up in smoke. There goes the bank. So no longer backing their currencies with gold, the U.S. fully abandoned Bretton Woods and hence the gold standard in 71. Governments can now use their central banks to manufacture more currencies to fill the gaps created by poor policy and corruption. Between lockdown stimulus, EU yield curve control, UK gilt meltdowns, US regional bank implosions, we've seen massive amounts of money printing the Western world recently, trillions and trillions and trillions. Who was that? Carl Sagan that said billions and billions and billions.
And billions and billions.
Billions and billions and billions. He used to say billions. That's so 1970s. It's all about trillions now. Trillions and trillions, Jeff.
So it's interesting. I'm looking at these articles. Everything seems to be predictable, plotted, and planned really well. When we look at the articles that are dropping, especially, now we're starting to see the BRICS roll out. You're talking about the national debt clock, how that's increasing at a rapid pace. Nobody cares about that. Open borders. And then you start looking around the world, though, and you say, there probably really isn't stability in other parts of the world. They're fictitiously creating this idea of stability through BRICS, backed by countries that are not stable: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They don't have stable economies or stable currencies. You have rapid growth in two of those countries, in India and China. You have rapid financial growth in both those countries. You also have huge obstacles from a political perspective, corruption, totalitarian regime in China in terms of how they want it, the ebb and flow, whether they let you take money out or not. India is growing at a rapid, massive pace. It has been for a long time, infrastructurally. And they have a long way to go with 1.3, 1.4 billion people over there. But still, you look at their from an economic perspective and a currency perspective, if there's going to be any kind of decisive move that will be long-lived, long-winded, it's not happening anytime soon. It definitely isn't, But as you're doing that, let me just fly through these titles because it's going to add into this conversation. Number one, BRICS next move or return to the gold standard, because there's conversation about their currency being backed by gold.
Yeah, Jeff, come on. Let's. So what are they going to do about their debt, right? So they're carrying debt. I mean, they're not to the level of the U.S., but what do they do about their debt, right? I mean, they're going to print more money and it's backed by gold. And explain to me, with some of these regimes we're talking about, where's the audit going to come from, Jeff? It's like, it's backed by gold. Okay. Can we check? Don't worry. Trust us. We're good for it, Jeff.
Trust us.
China's going to tell you, don't worry. We've got the gold. Really?
Don't worry. We've got it. Our gold is as good as the technology that we've copied.
It was defrauded.
that we've defrauded, that we've stolen. It's that good. Here you go. Policy. U.S. Senate Finance Committee asks crypto industry for tax guidance. There's another bizarre article, right? But it's happening.
Weird stuff.
The U.S. Senate Committee on Finance sought the help of the cryptocurrency industry to better understand how Congress can address the tax challenges and opportunities presented by digital assets. What's funny about this is that not that long ago, Congressman Warren Davidson with Darren Soto, Congressman Soto, introduced something called the Token Taxonomy Act. And the Token Taxonomy Act would have addressed some of the tax codes of 1986 and the Securities Acts of 33 and 34, all these different things that would have addended, put addendums on all of this and made things a little bit more palatable. All these years later, all of a sudden, you're starting to hear, but the thing is that things are getting more outspoken. Here you've got EU Security Agency issues first batch of detailed crypto rules under the MiCA law. And then this is my favorite one right here, Chip. Stablecoins pose existential threat to the policy sovereignty, says India central bank official. If large stablecoins are linked to some other currency, there's a risk of dollarization. RBI Deputy Governor Ravi Shankar said. Now, not that long ago, maybe like 2 years ago, India was buddy with the U.S. Not that long ago. 2 years in, Saudi Arabia has turned away. The UAE is turning away. India is turning away. All these countries are like, you know what? We're gonna sit on the sidelines and do our own thing while you guys get crazy over there in the U.S.
Jeff, I'm looking at this chat right here, and Margaret Burnham is onto something. She's onto something right there. I don't want to put it on the screen, but she's totally onto something. I'm just reading her. I'm reading her comment right there, and I was like, there's something to that. Mike, what's going on, Mike? Big shout out to Mike. Sophie Yellen and Biden are share applesauce. Every day there's so many random, well, not even random anymore. It's like daily. I saw like 2 clips today where you just couldn't finish a sentence, and I'm like, get to the point where it's elder abuse. Like, knock it off. Pork chops and applesauce, see? See what I'm saying, Jeff? Pork chops and applesauce. You had to do it. You had to do it, Legendary. Pork chops and applesauce, see? Yeah, see?
Yeah, see?
You come around here, see? Pork chops and applesauce. He's just totally baiting us, wasn't he, Legendary? He was totally going there. But I want to continue on with this. This is good stuff. So why does this matter? Who cares how much debt the U.S. has versus GDP? Well, in truth, it matters a lot. And here's why people should care about the debt load in the U.S. Why? Well, because eventually higher debt load leads to higher interest expenses, which then leads to higher deficits, which leads to more debt. More debt equals higher interest expenses, higher deficits, more debt, the dreaded debt spiral, which is why these nations are going to have a really good time trying to come out with the gold back. Let's print more currency. It'll be backed by gold. Whose gold? Nobody knows. If that happens, I will laugh so hard. This is not happening anytime soon in the universe. And who's gonna vote on that? Who's gonna audit it? Nobody. You could see China going and auditing Brazil. Is Brazil going to go audit South Africa? Really? Not happening. James Lavish says, I've already written extensively about the debt spiral in the U.S. So if you've not seen those articles, talks about that. And then he says, it's too long, didn't read. Next time we have a black swan, credit event, or a deep recession, the U.S. will be forced to print USDs to keep the U.S. Treasury market, UST markets liquid. They cannot afford to have illiquid markets when they must fund perpetual deficits with additional USTs. And so they will print the difference. The BRICS know this. They're tired of being beholden to the inflation diseased US dollar system. They're trying to opt out of the USD system and are looking to create their own network of payments, all settled in currency that's not printed, will be backed by gold. How will the gold work? BRICS nations would have to use their own currencies fully backed by gold or agree to a single currency backed by gold. Jeff, just break that down right there. In lies the problem. Their own currency backed by gold, which doesn't exist now. That's like us switching back to the gold standard. Do we even know if we have the gold? Does anybody know where the gold is?
And then we have to rely on them that they have it. All these currencies, all these countries, all this instability, and we're gonna have some faith or trust? Are countries really going to start trading in the yuan, digital yuan? Are they going to trade in the Brazilian real? Are they going to trade in the Indian rupee? I mean, come on. I mean, maybe if you're buying product from them, and that's what they're trying to create this zone. And that's what China had been working on with the Belt and Road Initiative. They tried working on that for many years, trying to gain some regional influence to prove that other countries would utilize their yuan, mainly based on force. You know, they're imposing their power, their regional power on these other countries through the Belt and Road Initiative. And the other countries they had no choice. It's either go with China and be a trade partner and benefit, or try not to and be a complete enemy of this massive, entity sitting on your doorstep. So this whole thing, can we have reliance on them? The fact that they're going to go digital currency or central bank digital currency, to me, is a good thing. You know why? Because it's going to be one more mechanism to control their people. As long as the cancer doesn't spread beyond their borders and other countries don't get sucked in to the nonsense of the BRICS, we're going to be good. But I wouldn't even project. They're not a year down the road. They're not 5 years down the road. We're talking about to gain any kind of influence or any kind of balance with what's happening and they talk about the de-dollarization, to gain some balance with the dollar. It's probably 10, 15 years out for them to get anywhere. But they have to get to that point first. And I just don't see them maintaining.
But Jeff, if they want, yeah, it's a good point. And if they wanted to, if you actually want to go ahead and keep the sovereignty, I thought it was an interesting idea that they wanted to protect their own sovereign currency. So if India was going to trade with Brazil, guess what? There's already a solution. It's called the XRPL, right? You can already use the software. You put the banking software. You just go ahead and trade. So you pay in rupees, and then in your native currency. The problem with that is that the same thing would happen with the euro throughout Europe, is that what a euro was worth in Greece was very different than what it was worth. Hey, Aaron, what it was worth. He comes in to see Dad. Okay. What's up, Dad?
Yeah.
Think about that, Jeff. Right. So it's like, you can literally cross over. You can basically travel all over Europe, and the euro spends differently, right? So if you're in Greece versus if you're in Spain versus if you're in the Netherlands, right?
Greece.
Right. So your denomination is set based on the actual country. So this is another potential issue which is going to happen with the BRICS nations, is like coming to an agreement, right? So you're gonna have like a currency, like everyone's flipping out. Oh my God, they're gonna. And I think you're spot on, Jeff. It's so far off, and these countries, it's kind of like people don't get. If everybody had a band together, like in other words, like the whole Earth would come together. If we got somebody from an alien attack, all of a sudden everybody on Earth would be our friend, right? For that short window that we're getting an invasion, and we got to band together, just like one of these movies, and we got to fight off this evil. And then all of a sudden we're buddy. So it's like these like minds sort of like cling together. But when the rubber hits the road and you got to really figure it out, it's a whole different story. Jim D says, the Feds and Treasuries' only hope is to pay off debt with even more worthless fiat currency, then pull the plug to cut over to the new asset/gold based, right? So that's not a bad idea. I do think there's a way. I don't know. I might be crazy, Jeff, but I think if you actually audit the Fed, you'll find a lot of dirty pool going on over there. And I have a feeling that this system that's based on debt and the debt payments made to the Treasury and all the printing of the money, it'd be weird to see what their balance sheet looks like and where have they been making investments and where have they been moving money that nobody's aware of or knows about. And geez, how much money would actually be available to cut down that debt? And who's involved with this corporation that apparently nobody knows what's going on and has never been audited since the early 1900s. So there's something to go on there. Crypto G says it's a shell game. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff? Does the Fed Reserve, is there something weird going on there? I mean,
we're looking at, everything that we just talked about, all those articles that we were referencing before, you look at the tie-in with the Fed all over the world, so you have to question some of that, much of it, maybe all of it, and really try to come to a finite conclusion as to what's happening. And then you start seeing and realizing, now here, number one, countries are going to maintain sovereignty over their currency. You would expect it. You want it. I don't expect countries to completely move off to some other asset unless their currency is in shambles. We've seen many countries that have moved to the dollar. We have some countries moving to Bitcoin. Overall, most countries want to maintain sovereignty over that currency. However, that all being said, and you brought up a solid point there, especially with BRICS, especially moving money, especially doing all of these things. What do you really need BRICS for when you have a company called Ripple with RippleNet, and you have a platform called the XRPL that is phenomenal, in terms of its technology. Not to say some of the political speak that comes out of some of the members of employees of the Ripple company, because some of them are a little bit far off, and maybe they shouldn't speak politically and just focus on developing this amazing technology and moving money. That would be, oh yeah, you can't say that.
Jeff, be careful, Jeff. We're never going to get to interview anybody from Ripple. That's
that was already a given. So, but to all your points, very, very solid for BRICS to replace the USD as a global reserve currency. Yeah, come on. I mean,
that's what it says. But it says basically. Read the rest of it, though, Jeff. Read through this.
It would have to unseat the U.S. Treasury as a global reserve asset. USTs have long, is that Treasury? Is that right? USTs have long been considered the global safe haven security. It would be the U.S. I think that's it. This will not just end with new BRICS currency and a USD whimper, and that's exactly what's going to happen. That said, a new gold-backed BRICS could dent USD dominance, regionally speaking. After all, the USD is already in steady decline, which is 100% accurate. However, actual physical gold backing is a huge challenge logistically. And while these countries have reportedly been buying hordes of gold recently, and they have been, China and Russia, it's still nowhere near enough to back a 5-country currency that compromises 30% of global GDP. So that these are such solid points. And the other finite to that, something that you're bringing up, and you brought up in reference to the EU and to the euro, countries struggled and suffered drastically under the EU and the euro. And you reference a couple of those countries. Greece was one of them. The financial dynamic between one country to another, and and it definitely when it came, it disrupted a lot, to say the least. So we're going to see similar types of things if they try to create a common currency. I don't know, it'll be a common currency where they're going to give up their sovereign currencies within the BRICS nations, but who knows? Who knows what direction China's moving in? It's possible. But do I think it's possible? China's Z trusts Russia's Putin? Yes, of course they do. Russia's Putin trusts Brazil's Da Silva and so on, that they can work together and trust each other enough to establish a gold-backed BRICS currency that eventually includes half the G20 economic giants. At this point, it's completely a pipe dream. It was a struggle for the EU. It was a struggle for the euro. The euro didn't gain much global dominance. It's obviously a recognized currency. Obviously, still the jury's still out on that. And it's already been how many years? How many years the EU been around, and the jury's still out in the euro in terms of
3 years.
The future.
And it's still
and so now you've got BRICS, and so it's interesting.
It is interesting. Look at this
development.
So this one here, you talked a little bit about this. The Lomas Gillibrand crypto bill elevates the CFTC and defines DeFi. Let's go a little bit into this. Okay, so it would take it said the SEC would take a backseat in crypto oversight bill relaunched by Senators Cynthia Lummis out of Wyoming, Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat out of New York, would require that crypto exchanges be overseen by the Commodity Future Trading Commission, which makes a lot of sense. And stablecoin issuers would be regulated depository institutions. That's weird. The crypto industry needs the U.S. Senate if it's going to get the U.S. regulation, and the bill represents the wide-reaching effort to emerge from that body. I don't know if there's any big sort of big ticket items in this thing, like the big change up. I mean, I heard
there's not much in there.
They revamped it, but like,
you got
changed?
Sherrod Brown and Gillibrand. How strong and how well received is this bill going to be? I mean, just if you look at the people that are involved in it, it's not like when you had Darren Soto joining with Warren Davidson, a Democrat and a Republican, and their bill was solid. It was solid right out of the gate. These guys, I don't think it's so solid, you know, and because some of the participants.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, it's troubling to say the least. I mean,
but give us something.
Give us something, but I don't think we're going to get anything, unfortunately. So here we go. This is John Deaton put the tweet thread out. He said, so many people claiming something is strange because Ripple decision is allegedly taken unusually long. Here are some facts to consider before putting your tinfoil hat on and jumping to conclusions. The Ripple and SEC reply briefs were filed in December. Thus, Judge Torres' decision is now at 7 months. Ripple isn't the only one waiting. However, in the Thor Equities case, also before Judge Torres, the reply briefs were also filed in the summer, so Judge Torres hasn't ruled on that yet. In the New York District Carpenters Fund case, Judge Torres' summary judgment ruling took over 8 months from the reply briefs. Quiller Incorporated versus USA took 7 months for Judge Torres' decision. The Fitzgerald case and several others I can name took 6 months for Judge Torres to rule. And in short, though, I and others believe that we would see a ruling before now. There are other cases and examples that have taken equal amount of time, and Judge Torres is likely aware of the magnitude of her decision. David Schwartz said, I know waiting is annoying. We'd all love to have a ruling on summary judgment motions as soon as possible, but I wouldn't think anything was wrong, unusual, or strange until at least the end of September. John Deaton said, yes, I agree. On September 31st, Judge Torres would be placed on the 6-month naughty judge list for the first time, and her decision would be pending over 9 months. I didn't review every case she had, but I didn't find anything that was any longer than 9 months, although one was slightly longer than 8 months. So there you go. There you have it.
Can we say that September 31st is October 1st?
Yeah, this Jovan Dinero says that on December 31st, we'd all be in uncharted territory since September only has 30 days. Love you, John. John's like, laugh my ass off. Love you back. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, but it's so funny because I read it too on September 31st. I read it too and didn't even connect the dots there on that one. So uncharted territory. Laugh my ass off. Love you back. That's great. Love John Deaton. I mean, he was so generous with his time. Spun up this space yesterday, just going over the library ruling, and man, it was so cool.
It was really cool. That space yesterday was great, talking about the outcome of that ruling as it would then pertain to Judge Torres' ruling, good or bad, indifferent. You know, there was a lot of emotion and commotion over the bad news sentiment on what that can mean for XRP holders, given that the judge didn't rule on the secondary sale of library, right? So this is I don't know, Chip. You know, it's just we're in interesting times right now. I want to see the real case that everybody has to continue watching is the Ripple case, because the SEC singled out not just Ripple, but singled out XRP, and didn't single out XRP only in the initial sale, but in all sales across the board, all secondary sales. Doesn't matter who bought it. Doesn't matter where you bought it from. Doesn't matter how you bought it. Across the board, that's what the SEC said. That's what the SEC wants. So is this good, bad, indifferent? You guys have to decide. For all those clowns out there that decided to unsubscribe from the channel because they thought they were using clickbait and they don't watch the show to understand exactly how we roll from beginning to end in the show, including the title, including the thumbnails, and referencing these points are really, critical. It amazes me, Chip, that there are such weak-willed people out there in the space that we run into. I find it very comical. But we still have, regardless, we have the best and the brightest in all of crypto YouTube space right here with us all the time, which is absolutely awesome. I love seeing the commentary in the chat because we learn so much from everybody that's commenting, and the show behind the show is our show because we get to watch the chat, and then we try to stay focused when each of us are speaking or showing something while we're reading the chat and doing all that stuff. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It is, and sometimes we're off to a rocky start, like yesterday's space was, and today was. I mean, it's always something. There's always something going on, and I think it's really all the time we really have time for. And my computer's still like,
we got like 5
something
minutes.
with this browser.
5 minutes burning and churning and burning.
Yeah, there's something else I wanted to show. Unfortunately, it didn't make it into the keep. There's something in there. But...
You killed it in the keep. Killed it in the keep.
No, I didn't kill it in the keep. It's just that it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to show like this complete thread and comments on it, but for some reason I can't find it. So there you go.
How about
there you go?
What's up with Uphold? What is up with Uphold? There's another one. In the Google Play Store, they're going to start somehow rolling out NFTs and things like that.
Who's been doing that?
NFTs?
Who's rolling that out?
Oh,
Google?
the Google Play Store, yeah.
Google's?
Yep.
Well, that's what we need for a little more mainstream, Main Street, and widespread.
You're having issues, and it's snowing over here. I don't know. I can't see the snow, but I'm sure it's snowy.
I don't see the snow either. I don't know what they're talking about. It happens, man. It's like it's live TV. It's how it works.
Mike said, Jeff and Chip, they don't understand because they're not drinking badass YETIS coffee.
Very good point. It's a very good point. I don't even have the bag here. I usually have it sitting here on my desk, but I don't know what happened to it. You got it, Jeff?
Badass YETIS coffee. Since you brought that up,
brought to you
by Badass YETIS coffee. This is Noir Symphony. This is a whole bean ground. You can get it in different type of grounds. If you want it ground, if you want it whole bean, the Noir Symphony is awesome because it's a nice blend of beans. It's dark roast, but it's subtly dark, so it's really tasty. And then we get to the Obsidian. But this one, I like the Noir Symphony. Noir Symphony is really great. The Obsidian Bold is like on a whole different level of dark roast. Not quite a burnt French roast, but it's dark, it's rich, and it's bold. And the Noir Symphony, the flavors are so amazing.
Let me ask Mike. Mike bought a couple bags. Mike, what is your thought on the Badass YETIS coffee? This is just his endorsement. He tweeted about it, so we've getting really good reviews on it. I just dropped it in the chat right there. Of course, you can go to our comments and get it as well. But what's different about this coffee is it's roasted to order. Your order comes in, it gets roasted and packaged. What's different about that? It's not sitting on a month for 6 to 12 months. If you want to taste the difference, if you're a really coffee connoisseur, if you really enjoy coffee, really good coffee, I think you'd really enjoy this. And if you really like it, you can get a subscription. You can get a subscription and say, hey, send it to me every 2 weeks, send it to me every month. And it automatically comes every time, just like that.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
There you have it.
What's today,
working.
Chip?
Today is Wednesday, the 12th.
Wednesday.
Also, too, Jeff and I are working on the Badass YETIS, the NFT project. The White Tribe is going to be coming out. If you guys don't own a Blue Tribe member yet, please get a Blue Tribe member because there's all kinds of cool things going on. If you own one Blue Tribe member, you'll get one White Tribe. You own 3 or more, 3 to 5, you'll get of the blue, you get a white, 3 or 2 whites. 6 or more, you're going to end up with 3. So, you're already going to extend your collection. And again, so the Blue Tribe, White Tribe's coming out. We've showed them here before. We're not going to go there today, but we are pretty excited about it. And again, we turned that into a brand, a coffee brand, the Badass YETIS coffee. And those little Yetis, man, they love their coffee. They must have it. They want to make sure that it's the right thing to do. So it's the best. And I'm not just saying that. Yeah, Mike, I really appreciate that. And it is really delicious. And the funny thing is that Jeff and I are like we're such into coffee that if it had our name on it, so to speak, obviously Badass YETI, but if it's our brand, we had to make sure that it passed the Chip and Kef, the Simon and Kef space. So
it is awesome. Sophie, thanks for the great show, guys. I always learn something new from you guys in the chat family. Catch you Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's awesome. Very hydroponic, Chip and Jeff. It was another great OTC family time. Thanks for all the years you guys have been putting in, making the show great. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on
the next one.
The next one.
I love that. I totally love that. So what else do we have here? Just so many great comments here. My God, there's so many.
Thank you.
Strong
and
show.
good night.
All right. And good night. Thank you and good night. It's like that radio FM 1970s radio talking.
Thank you.
All right, that's all.
And good night.
There we have it.
And there you have it.
There
See
you
you guys 8 a.m. Saturday morning. You guys are the best and the brightest in all of YouTube crypto space, except for the guys that left
Jeff,
and unsubscribed.
Is it fair to say that they know the difference between our goofy titles than other people? Clickbait.
Clickbait. Oh, you guys use clickbait.
Real here on that chain. We keep it real. Listen, we're going to call it the way we see it. We like Ripple, but when they do stuff that we think is dumb, we call them out on. I mean, fanboys
with an attitude. This is what those people sound like when they come in. Clickbait.
That's the best ever. Do it one more time. Hit me one more time.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. It's just fantastic. You know what else we haven't heard in a long time?
The usual, sir. Please.
This is so funny. He clicked though. That's right. They click it. They're all fighting.
You and your damn clickbait.
It worked.
Hey, I wonder what this is. And left a comment. I'm unsubscribing. I'm unsubbed. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it because people we don't even know unsub all the time. So
great. It's the best.
Join the tribe. Speaking of joining the tribe, Badass Yeti, get yourself some Badass Yetis out there, everybody. Want to support the show? All kinds of ways. We always want to say a big shout out to the people that joined the On the Chain YouTube through YouTube. Thank you so much. That is heavily appreciated, you guys, and your support. Thank you for sharing. We had a lot of shares last week, so I wanted to thank that. So we see our weekly stats, and last week we had an exorbitantly high share rate. So thank you for that, guys. When you share it with other people either get to love it or come in here and get angry at us. You and your damn clickbait.
You clickbait.
Damn dirty apes. You damn dirty apes. So, like it or not, whatever. That's all we got. We'll see you guys on. What do you got? That's all we got. We'll see you guys in the next one. Chip and Jeff out. See you guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.